Today on Business Success in Six with Stacie, I have Dr. Nan Boss here from Best Friends Veterinary Clinic in Grafton, Wisconsin. Thanks for jumping on with me, Dr. Boss.
You're very welcome.
If you don't mind, I would love to ask you about your business history and about Best Friends. Is that okay?
It's awesome. I like to talk about it.
All right, well, let's go. When people ask you what your business does, how do you describe it?
So, shorter answer is I'm a veterinary clinic owner, and my veterinary hospital treats dogs and cats and some exotics, birds and pocket pets and things like that. Um, the long answer is there's a lot of veterinary hospitals out there. So, my aim was always to be the best veterinary hospital in our area. So, I always talk about my theory that just about anything in life, if you rank it from worst to best and put it on a graph, it's going to come out looking like a bell curve. So, books you've read, movies, teachers you've had, and professional people fall into that too. So everything is a bell curve. There's a quote I really like that says, mediocrity, it's a whole lot easier and most people won't notice until it's too late. I, I think it is pretty easy to be mediocre and in the middle of the bell curve, but if you want to be to the right side, you have to work a lot harder at it. So, um, our profession it's amazing how fast things change. So medical knowledge is doubling every few years. We're supposed to turn over half of what we do every 5 years, which means every year we have to change 10% of our protocols and procedures and medications and the way we're doing things. And that takes a heck of a lot of effort. You have to go to a lot of continuing education, and then you have to bring that back, and you have to train your staff and change your protocols and meet with the doctors. And for me, because I'm all about client education, that means I also have to change my handout on whatever that information is.
Yes.
I have to do team training. I have to do individual training if it's a protocol that it's going to involve a particular area of the hospital. I mean, it's a lot of work to really stay up to date in a profession that's changing very quickly. So I've always kind of prided myself on putting in that extra work so that we can keep on that right side of
Right.
the bell curve.
That's
Yeah,
right. I love
yeah.
that. So, what were your plans when you started your business? So, I know that you've been in business, it's going to be 30 years. Congratulations. Do you
Yes,
want to
thank
share your
you.
business story? Absolutely. Tell us 30 years. How did this start?
So when I bought my practice, it was one full-time doctor, one full-time employee, and two part-time employees. It was not very big. And I didn't have any aspirations to become a huge practice. I figured I'd end up two or three doctors and comfortable in that small business environment. But the practice has grown much more than I thought it would. But more than that, I developed this intense interest in client education and teaching my clients more about how to take better care of their pets. Um, and so I created this whole set of education materials that I use in my practice. And I had a practice management consultant come in to my practice, and he saw my materials and really liked them. So he gave my name to somebody that was recruiting speakers for a veterinary meeting. And so I went and spoke to 2,000 other veterinarians about my client education system, and that led to selling my handouts and writing a book for the American Animal Hospital Association. So I had no clue that I would be involved in any of that stuff when I started out. I became active in a bunch of veterinary organizations. I know a whole lot of cool people. I really enjoy getting out of practice and interacting in a small group situation with people that are doing really interesting things in my field. So I never expected any of that. As far as growth of the business itself, I'm starting my fourth doctor in a couple of weeks. We moved into a much larger building in 2003, so that also has been 20 years this year. So this
Wow.
is our anniversary year. So that too, I didn't really envision at all when I started the business. And we're still not a huge practice. I mean, there's people that have practices with 20 doctors and three locations, and I mean, you can get as big as you want to get, but it's certainly beyond what I ever had in mind when I first bought it.
Yeah, and it sounds like you really you really love to do the education side of things for both people in your practice, those clients, and other veterinarians. So that
Yes.
takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it does. But I really like writing and I like speaking, and it gets me out of the practice. And I've had a lot of free conference registrations because I'm speaking there. So I get to go to the rest of the conference. And so
Oh,
that's been
very
kind of
cool.
nice too. But yeah, I really like doing that stuff. It's very different from my everyday in practice,
Yeah,
you
and it
know.
challenges us and it grows us, and
Yep.
that's how you're going to continue to be to the right of that bell curve, right?
Exactly. Well, and if you network with other people that are trying to do similar things, I mean, that just puts you at a different level of who you're talking to and what you're talking about and what I could bring back to my clinic from what I learned from other people. I chaired a committee for the American Animal Hospital Association for about 5 years that put together the speakers for the management portion of their annual meeting, and that was really cool because I met a lot of the people that were speaking at these major meetings that had a lot of good ideas and were interesting to talk to. And some of them are still my friends 20 years later. So
Wow.
it's been good.
So special. So what is the biggest way that you and best friends impact the community?
So I think as far as distinguishing ourselves from other veterinary hospitals, I do canine rehabilitation. So, doing physical therapy for dogs that have had surgeries or neurological problems and things like that. So, there aren't too many clinics doing that. So, we have an underwater treadmill and a therapy laser. And treating the exotics is also something different than most clinics that we are willing to see the birds and the pocket pets and the things that a lot of other practices don't. But I also consider what I do as helping the larger community of veterinarians and veterinary clinics, which is why I like speaking. Um, I feel like I can only do a limited amount of good with my own 2,000 clients, but if I can teach 2,000 other veterinarians how to do a better job with their 2,000 clients, my
Yes.
community and who I have impacted suddenly becomes a whole lot bigger.
Huge. Thank you for sharing that. That is a really great point about how it's not just under your roof that you can really impact, but you can go under so many different roofs when you share your knowledge and network. And
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
love that. So 30 years in practice, what is one challenge that you have faced that other business owners could learn from?
Um, I kind of struggle with this one a little bit. I'm in my own little practice bubble, so I know what veterinarians struggle with, but as far as other business owners, we have the same problems as anybody else with, recruitment and training, and it's super hard to find people nowadays. I I think I really like the book Good to Great by Jim Collins, and he's got a concept in there called the hedgehog concept, where um, you kind of choose what the focus of your business is going to be, and then you focus really hard on that one thing you're good at, which if you're a hedgehog is rolling up in a ball and having your spine showing.
Oh,
That's a different way to run your business than somebody that wants to become a wolf or some other kind of creature.
yeah.
That you pick the one thing, and for me that's been the client education part of it, and that's become my focus. People are good at what they like doing, and
Mhm.
so I like to write and I like to teach, and so that's become the focus of my practice. There's other people that maybe like surgery or are into something else. For me, I chose what I was really going to focus and dedicate my time on, and I feel like I've gotten some good rewards from that rather than trying to be everything to everybody. um,
Mm.
I've tried to, I'm not the practice that people go to if all they want is their rabies vaccination every 3 years, and that's the level of care I want. I want the clients that I can teach, that want to learn, that are willing to hear some of what we're trying to share with them. And I don't worry too much about the clients that just want to find the least expensive clinic and do the least amount of stuff.
Sure, absolutely. You're an expert in what you focus on, and that's so great that you're focusing on that education. Again, I love that, as well as caring for our animal friends, right?
Yep. Well, and when you look for an accountant or a doctor, where my husband and I are looking for a financial planner right now to help plan our retirement, and you know, it's nice to choose somebody that does the same thing. They have enough knowledge that they can teach other people how to do it. That's the kind of professional I'm looking for when I'm out searching, is somebody that doesn't just stay in their little bubble of their own practice, but is learning from other people and spreading information to other people.
So huge. Absolutely. I heard recently, experience is the slowest way to learn. So we don't have to experience everything, but if we can learn it from other people and not have to
Right.
go through that, we're gonna grow a lot quicker, right?
Yeah. There's a joke about smart people learn from their mistakes the first time they make the mistake. Really smart people learn from the mistakes of others so they don't have to make those mistakes themselves. So
Yes,
that's true.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So my next question for you, Dr. Boss, is what does the future look like to you? And do you have an exit plan?
I do have an exit plan. My husband and I bought a piece of property out in the Baraboo Hills a few years ago. It's been like 8 or 9 years ago now. And we will be building a house out there and retiring and having a hobby farm with a barn and a greenhouse and some horses and goats and chickens. And so that'll be cool. So yeah, I have something to look forward to. I'll probably be actively full-time practice for a couple more years, and then I'll start cutting back to part-time and spending part of my time out there. And I can still do the writing and speaking part that I really like from there,
Yes.
um, while I'm going back and forth to here. So yeah, I'll be weaning myself off. I'm gonna really miss, I really love surgery. So I love client education too, but you know, if I had my druthers, I'd spend all my time in the surgery room. I'm gonna have a hard time not being able to do that once I retire. That's my favorite fun thing to do. I obviously I can save a lot more lives by patiently, thoroughly teaching people about how to not let their dog get obese and what dental care is for and all of those things. But man, I love a good surgery.
Isn't that
I if I could
interesting?
save that many patients with doing splenectomies all day, that would be awesome. But you know, I figured out what was going to be the most benefit to my patients, and I deliver a lot of that. But I still like the, we call it gut puddling in veterinary medicine.
Absolutely. So interesting. Well, diamond in the rough with that, because I don't
Yeah,
hear a lot of people say that they love surgery so much, but you are saving
yeah.
lives. So it's really cool. And you've got a really neat exit plan. That sounds absolutely amazing. And you're still going to
I
be
hope so.
your
Yeah,
animal
I'd
friend.
get bored if I was just sitting at home, you know, retired. I don't think I could stand that. So I'm sure I will be still with fingers in many pies for a few years.
So inspiring. And actually, that leads me to my last question. All subjects open. What inspires you most?
Again, I think it's interacting with other people that do really interesting things, and I think, oh, I want to try that, or I want to do that too, or teach me how to do that better. I think one of the things that makes you a good veterinarian or anybody in the medical field is you have to have that drive to learn and try new things. Otherwise, you get stuck in a rut and you're still doing things the same way you did 20 or 30 years before, when that's not what you ought to be doing anymore. So it's that drive to learn cool new information that I think helps to keep me up to date and not fall behind like a lot of veterinarians do when they get their 60s.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for that,
Mm,
because innovation and education is so important. And if we're not feeding ourselves with that, we're not servicing our clients as well as they need to be. So
yep,
thank you.
yeah.
So if somebody wants to connect with you to go to Best Friends, what is the best way for them to learn a little bit more information about Best Friends Veterinary Clinic?
You can certainly visit our website, which is bestfriendsvet.com. We have a YouTube channel that's BFVC for Best Friends Veterinary Center. It's BFVC TV. So if you type that into YouTube, you'll get about 30 different videos. We just did about 5 new ones, so those will be popping up on our YouTube channel. We have an Instagram and Facebook stuff too. that you can find if you just type in Best Friends Vet. But we try to be out there and communicating all that information via video to other clients out in the world who maybe don't come here, but who would like to learn about genetic problems in German Shepherds or dentistry for their pet or how to make anesthesia more safe. All those things are up on our site.
Interesting. And those are on the YouTube link.
Mm-hmm.
Very
Yep.
cool. Well, thank you so much for educating us, for sharing your business and your time with us today, Dr. Boss. Good luck in the future. I know you're going to keep
Thank
growing
you.
and learning, and enjoy that hobby farm.
Thanks.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.